Hello, and welcome to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. And we're here for a spoiler free book review of The Well of Ascension, Mistborn Book 2 by Brandon Sanderson. It is narrated by Michael Kramer. Essentially, with all of our spoiler frees, since this is the second book, we will be doing minor spoilers for the first book. So, spoiler warning of potential first book material. Um, Book 2 is going to be completely spoiler free. This is counting towards our 52 book challenge. If like book like content, would like to hang out with us, please like and subscribe and join us Sunday. This book is 28 hours, 56 minutes, comes in at 815 pages, so decent sized book all in all, bringing us to our age rating. For me, I'd keep it at T for teen, and honestly, the majority of our stuff could easily fit into that realm. It is T because of combat, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So there is combat and there is a romance and yeah, but it's not, I wouldn't put it at mature because like okay, they have a relationship. Well, that's, mommy and daddy stuff. That's not like bound chicka bound stuff. So yeah, T for teen. Where would you put the age rating?
I agree with you for all those reasons, including the bound chicka wow wow. Uh, it's T for teen, might even be, early teen, but there are some suggested adult themes without getting into the details. The romance subplot is a big part of this book, which we'll get into talking a little bit more later. But yeah, I'd keep it at a T for teen rating. Overall synopsis for this book, it pretty much picks up a year after the first book, and in a lot of ways is a very different book. The first book is, hey, we're going to plan a heist job slash topple a god slash empire, and book two is very much, now we need to keep said empire, right? Hopefully, you've finished the first book. Um, One of our main characters dies, and we get a new addition to the leader of our crew. Still follow a lot of the same characters in this, but it's very much a different book.
Yeah, very very different. It kind of takes it from the first one is like a OMG, you're a G. But with our Captain Planet powers combined, we will spirit bomb and win. Uh, Two is very much like, well, now that there's not a single given thing that we have to do, everyone's kind of running around with a chicken, like a chicken with their head cut off, and going in many different directions. There are a couple select few who, due to their prior power, have had people flock to them and or have ruled with an iron fist and or yeah, collected groups of people, and we're going head to head.
Overall rating for this book, we always try to keep our ratings out of 5 stars. For me, as much as I love this trilogy and the Mistborn series slash saga, this is probably my least favorite book of Era One, for a lot of different reasons. I'd still give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Um, but when you hold it up to books one and three, it's my least favorite. And I think you would find that that's pretty standard across the board. If you get on Goodreads, I believe it has the lowest rating of the three. It's still a very good book. It's still very necessary for the trilogy, bringing in a lot of different pieces, doing a lot more world building, lore building, um, character development, etc., etc. Yet, yeah, I stand by my position. Would love to hear other people's thoughts in the comments below. But for me, probably my least favorite of the three and 4 out of 5 stars. How about you, Pete?
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to put it at a 4 out of 5, and very much same reasons. I guess the easiest way to explain it is for like 70% of the book, I'm just like, I don't care, just do it already. What are you waiting for? And then there's that 30% where I'm like, beepity beep, Brandon Sanderson, I see you, and there's so much, I guess, intricate development that just makes me want more. Where one feels conclusive, feels satisfying, two is very much that tune in next time to see if, Goku will defeat Frieza, and it just it adds a lot of layers, but it was a little slow for me. So it's still a great book. Brandon just does so well with his perspective shifts or his intricate adding elements. So it's still very good, but I yeah, yeah. It's the low man on the totem pole out of the three.
Yeah, that ties really well into one of the categories we want to talk about for this book, which is scaling and progression. And I'd give it a 3.5 for a lot of the reasons you were talking about. Um, it seems to move kind of slow at times. Uh, Necessary evil maybe to get some progression done elsewhere, like with character development, and a couple other pieces, but there's definitely felt to be a bit of a lull for me around the first 1/3 to 2/3 of the book. Still enjoyed it for different reasons, but yeah, I feel out of everything we could say with this book, the scaling and progression was probably one of its weaknesses for me. How about you for you, Pete?
Scaling and progression, yeah, it'd be a 3.5 for me, and that's just because it spends a lot of time kind of, I guess, peacocking or, strutting around where you're like, I'm ready for something to happen. Okay, you got me all this example. And it does well with a little bit of, I didn't even see that coming. And it does well with other intricate, you know, I guess, posturing and manipulation. And that's not something that I personally enjoy. So I put it a little lower. But then, you know, there's a bit of build up that actually, adds more questions than answers. So it does progress. Yeah. I mean, scaling, like, I guess, from our main character from book one, from a street urchin to the conclusion, there's a lot more of that soul searching.
hmm And before we move on to the next part, I just want to throw out there that one of the things we covered in our live book discussion of this was talking about how um, while the three books are all part of the same trilogy, they're all very different in their own way, and people like different books for those different reasons. We had a guest on that where I believe you were talking about some of these areas we just covered in the scaling and progression, but obviously more detail as a weakness for you. And those were some of the parts that he really enjoyed out of the book: the posturing, the political intrigue, the drawing things out. So yeah, keep that in mind. of our reviews moving forward. Next subcategory that we wanted to talk about is character development. I'll let you take a stab at this one first, Pete.
Character development would probably be a 4 and a 3.5. A 4 for, I guess, main characters for some of them, like since you know one for like Vin and for like Cazard, like I'd put it at a 4. Like I felt I saw them going through these trials and I saw them developing and I saw them becoming more due to environmental pressures. But then as far as like some of our other main crew, or well, okay, I guess I can't also for Alan, that was a 4. There was a lot there. I just he's a muggle, he's a mortal, he's a bloody blah, so I didn't get those feels. But you know, yeah, so Ellen got a 4. And then for the rest of our crew and for some of our other characters that were like sprinkled along, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's nice, but do it. Just do it already.
We're very much on the same page with this in regards to character development. I would put it at a 4. And that's an average for a lot of the same reasons you're talking about. This book is very much Vin, Ellen, and Sazed's book, right? The first book, we really focus on Vin and Kelsier, but I felt that the overall crew, we got to see a lot more of them and a lot more development for them. Where with this book, a lot of my favorite characters, um, they don't get a lot of screen time. Like we don't get to see them a whole lot. And for me, that was very disappointing. I much rather have seen them more. Instead, we really focused on Vin and Ellen's story arc and Sazed's story arc, which is great, but part of the reason why I fell in love with this series was the crew. Next subcategory we want to get into is the foreshadowing. This is something that Brandon Sanderson is just a master of, and you don't truly get to appreciate how amazing he is at the foreshadowing until you get further in the series. And I'd even say read Arcanium Unbound, the collection of short stories for the Cosmere. So I look forward to talking to you about Mistborn Era 1 after you get in there, because it does have a couple of short stories that help kind of expand the lore. And I'm trying to remember if I've read First Era since I read Arcanium Unbounded, because it's been a while since I read Mistborn Era 1, with the exception of most recently. And coming back and reading it again, there's even more nuggets of foreshadowing that I didn't realize and appreciate until I got the larger scope of things. So for me, foreshadowing is probably a 4.5. Definitely one of the strengths for this book. Where would you put foreshadowing at?
So it's kind of weird because it's kind of like foreshadowing. It's kind of like cliffhangers because it's foreshadowing in the grand scheme of the series, but some of them end up as cliffhangers because I don't know why you haven't read the third one already. Um, and so I'd put it at a 5. Like this is what I enjoy most about Brandon. Like he doesn't lie to you, but he gives you information from someone's perspective, and that's all you know. So that's what you base your opinions off of. And then the penny drops, the portal opens, we enter the void, and all the little dots connect. The first one, it had a lot more of like little stuff at the beginning of the chapters that then it finally like all made sense and I had to go back for it. For this one, it's more a lot of foreshadowing in the series into going into 3. So I enjoyed it. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of both for foreshadowing, cliffhangers, depending on if you're only in this book or if you're in the series as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very well said. Very well said. Um, Overall, final thoughts on this book. It's an amazing series. While book two wasn't our favorite, there are other people out there that I've talked to that say it's their favorite for different reasons. But for myself, it's my least favorite of the three. Still an amazing series, still worth picking up. And a lot of what takes place here is very important moving forward into book three. Um, your thoughts, Pete?
Yeah, this is the middle. Unless you're an Oreo, no one really likes the middle. It achieved a lot. It did a lot of things, but it's always either journey before destination or reaching your goal. And so, slogging through the middle is just kind of vanilla for me. So yeah, but it was good. It was good, but I only I only rag on it or dog on it for the scope of everything else that we know. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We have already done a Geek Out slash live stream for this book. It was a lot of fun. Really appreciate our guest joining us. We are aiming to finish out the trilogy and do a live book discussion slash geek out for Mistborn Book 3.